Okay, guys, so in this video, we're going to be talking about domain and range. So if you remember domain and range, or if you wonder what domain and range is, domain is the values of x, where a graph exists, and range is the values of y, where a graph exists. Specifically, we're going to be targeting interval notation today. So basically, what is interval notation? What does it mean to describe an interval or a section of the graph in interval notation? So for that, we need to know a couple of things. So first of all, we need to know inequalities, because sometimes they want you to go from inequality to interval notation and vice versa for some of these assignments. We're especially talking about domain and range. So just remember that this symbol means greater than, this one means less than, this one means greater than or equal to with the little line under it, and the last one is less than or equal to with the little line under it. Okay, so make sure you understand what these symbols mean. If you remember L, the one that looks like an L that's squeezed, so capital L, think of a capital L and you squeeze the corners, it turns into this symbol, which is less than. So if you're trying to, if you're finding yourself not knowing which one's which, that's a good trick to remember. Okay, so really quick recap. So on these three random examples, let's say we have example 1, 2, and 3, right? So what does this mean? So this means x is less than 5 and is not including 5. So the value of x is less than 5, not including the number 5 because we don't have the little line under it. Example number 2, this is x is greater than 10, and it is including the 10 because we have the little line under it. And the last one says that x is bigger than 2, but also x is less than or equal to 20. So this is called a compound inequality, meaning that they give you 2 for the price of 1, basically 2 at the same time. This says that x basically is in between 2 and 20. It doesn't include the 2, but it does include the 20, right? So you're saying the same thing in a different way. So x is greater than 2, and also x is less than or equal to 20, or in other words, x is between 2 and 20, not including the 2, but including the 20. All right, so I hope that that's all coming back. How do we convert that into an actual interval notation, from an inequality to interval notation and vice versa? So this is where these guys come into play. So you're gonna need to know a couple of things. First of all, let me cover this just so it's out of the way for now. You're gonna need to know basically a graph. So which way is the graph positive and negative for the x? Which was the graph positive and negative for the y? I kind of drew it also here for you, right? So you can remember. The graph is negative on the left side for the x. It's positive on the right side for the x. The graph is negative on the bottom of the y, and it's positive on top, positive y. So you need to know those key details to be able to figure out which way is left, right, up, down, especially when we deal with infinities. So infinity means either up, down, left, or right, forever and ever and ever. So if you're talking about up forever, that's going to be positive infinity because it's where the positive y is going to be. If we're talking about down forever, that's going to be negative infinity because it's downwards, right, forever and ever and ever. So the y is downwards. That value would be negative, so it would be negative infinity. If we're talking about to the left forever, well, that's in the negative value of x, so that's negative infinity. If we're talking about to the right forever and ever, that means positive infinity because those are where the positive values of x lie. All right. So that being said, I know it's a lot to take in, but this should all be something that you should already know. Let's talk about interval notation. What is interval notation? How do we use it? So this is what you need to know for interval notation. An interval is a section or portion of a graph from smallest to largest number. So basically, we're organizing the graph from smallest to largest, which on the x-axis means from left to right. On the y-axis means from the bottom to the top. So that'll be an example of your interval. In interval notation, parentheses means that the number is not included as one of the solutions. So parentheses means that we're not including that number as one of the solutions. In the contrary, bracket means that the number is included as part of the solutions. So bracket means that the number is included. Okay, so now, how do we say that in math? When you have parentheses, typically that means you're going to have an open circle at a graph. And then when you have bracket, that means you have closed circle at a graph. So open circle at the graph, that means we're not including. So I'm going to write it right here, open circle. That means we're not including that number. And then when we have a bracket, that's closed circle. Not including, including. Okay. That being said, let's jump right into some examples, and then I promise you it'll make sense once we do all of these examples that I have set for you guys below here. Okay, so example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to be doing these examples. We're going to try to find basically the interval notation of how do we say from here to there. So that section of the graph. So example number 1. We want to figure out how to say this as an inequality and an interval notation. So let me scoot this over a little bit. So we're looking at from -1 to +3, not including the -1 because we have an open circle, not including the 3 because we have an open circle. How do we say that as an inequality? Well, we would say that it's going to be from -1. Open circle means we're not going to have the line under it. And then that is going to be between -1 and +3. So no line under the inequality because we have an open circle. No line under the inequality because we have an open circle. Therefore, the inequality would be x is greater than -1 but less than 3. Okay? We're going to be saying the exact same thing in interval notation now. So in interval notation, parentheses means we're not including the number, right? So in interval notation, all we really have to say is parentheses, not including, -1, and then all the way to 3, not including the 3. So we're saying the exact same thing here, two different ways. Okay? Let's try example number 2. Example number 2, as an inequality. So this thing starts at the -2. Are we including the -2? Well, yeah, we have a closed circle here. So we're going to have, this is -2. It's less than or equal to x, which is all the numbers in between. And that is going to be stopping at the 2. We're not including the 2, so it's going to be less than 2. So again, closed circle, including, open circle, not including. So x is between -2 and 2. Let's say the same thing in interval notation. So this is actually including the -2, so bracket -2, comma, all the way to +2, not including the 2, so we're going to put a parentheses on that. All right, example number 3. So let's do this one. This thing starts at the 10 and it ends at the 13, including. So we're going to be having 10 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 13. Notice that I have a line under it because we have a closed circle, line under it because we have a closed circle. So the values of x are between 10 and 13, including both 10 and including 13. Interval notation, same idea. Including, so we're going to have a bracket 10. Oh, that looks ugly. So bracket 10 all the way to 13, and then we're including the 13, so another bracket right after 13. All right, almost done. So last 2. This ones have arrows, so be careful when you have arrows. That means we're going to include some infinity symbols in there somewhere. So this thing, we got to read it from left to right like a booklet. We've done the first 3 examples, same thing. So from left to right. So this guy starts at the -4. So -4. And then all the numbers are going to be included all the way to forever and ever to the right. So wait a minute. So if it's just all the numbers that are bigger than -4, so we're just going to write that as an inequality. So it's just x is bigger than -4. Or equal to -4, sorry. Because we have a closed circle here. So let me write this. Yeah, sure, why not? I already wrote the -4 there, why not? So -4, x is going to be bigger than or equal to that. So I'm going to put the little line under the inequality saying that it's going to be including the -4. And it's going to be pointing to the right. I probably told you this in one of the other lessons. So whenever the little alligator is eating the x, that means that we're pointing to the right. Since we're pointing to the right, it should be eating the variable or the x. So that means x is bigger than or equal to -4. So all the numbers that are bigger than or equal to -4 will work. Interval notation, we're saying the same thing now. Starting at the -4, so -4, we're including the -4, so bracket, and then it never ends forever and ever to the right. So that's going to be infinity. So we're going to put an infinity symbol there. Infinity will always be a parentheses no matter what. So whenever you have the infinity symbol, always, 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 you're going to write a parentheses to tag along with that. Okay, last example, example number 5. This thing starts as an inequality. So all the numbers that are less than 3 would work, not including the 3. So all the numbers that are less than, so it's not eating the variable, 3 would work. Notice that I don't put the little line under it because it's not including the 3. So this is my inequality. X is less than 3. If I want to write that as an interval, well, from left to right, we read it like a book. So it's going to be pointing to the left forever. So it's going to be negative infinity, pointing to the left forever and ever. Right? That also comes along with a bracket because infinity will always be bracket. And then it's going to end at the 3. Am I including the 3? No, we have an open circle, so it's going to be parentheses. So this is the same thing as here in interval notation. Okay? Hopefully this video was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.